boys and girls, it's Mrs. Letty, and we are going to continue talking about animals again. So today we're going to watch a short little video clip here. And before I show this, I'm wondering, have you ever wondered where we people, humans, get our ideas for new products and new inventions? So what that means is think about new products that come out. There are always new toys coming out, right? Think about a hoverboard. Did they have hoverboards a long time ago? No, probably not. Even technology items, like a long time ago, there were only phones that would be plugged into walls, and now we have cell phones. There weren't iPads a long time ago. There were no Nintendo Switches a long time ago. So those are all new products and new inventions that have been made. We are going to also think about how humans can learn from animals. So we're going to watch just this short clip real quick here. So when you just watch that clip and there's a human, they're snorkeling, they're scuba diving. What are they learning from the fish or being under that water? Think about that for a second. What are they learning? Some other questions that I want you to think about as we are discussing animals again are, how do animal body parts help them survive? So if they have a shell, how does it help them survive? If they have wings or feathers or fur or eyes, a nose, a mouth, or legs, how do all those body parts help them survive? What are some body parts that help them move, eat, or survive in their habitats? So who can raise their hand and tell me what a habitat is? You should have said that a habitat is an animal's home. It's where they live. So what body parts, eyes, nose, mouth, legs, what body parts help them to move, to eat, and to survive? We're going to be answering that question on paper in a little bit. How do different body parts help protect animals? So we are going to be looking at a duck and a turtle and a few other animals, and think about how the turtle's shell helps out, or how the duck's feathers help them survive. My next question is, you're going to be thinking about, what are some examples of humans mimicking animals? Raise your hand if you have heard the word mimicking before. Raise your hand if you know what the word mimicking means. So when I say examples of humans mimicking animals, if I am playing a little pretend game and I'm going, meow, meow, what animal am I mimicking? You should have all guessed cat. So what are some other ways that humans could mimic animals? And I know if you think about this with lots of kids, I see kids running around outside sometimes, or playing inside, and they're pretending to be different animals, so they're mimicking them and things that they do. I'm going to show you some pictures of a few different animals, and we are going to look at what is covering the animals and why it's important to them. So what is on the outside of the animals and why it's important to them. So the first one I'm going to pull up here is going to be a duck. Okay, we're looking at this duck right now. And my question to you is, the duck's feathers are used for either protection or movement. So the feathers are on the outside here. I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think the duck's feathers are used for protection, to protect the duck. Now I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think that the duck's feathers are used by movement. So does the duck use the feathers to help them move? Give me a thumbs up if you think it's that one. You're going to pick one or the other. If you gave me a thumbs up for movement, you are correct. Those feathers are going to help the duck to move. The next animal we have is a turtle. The turtle's shell is used for protection or movement. Give me a thumbs up if you think the shell is used for protection. Or give me a thumbs up if you think the turtle's shell is used for movement. If you yes, protection, you're correct. Think about a turtle. He can poke his head in or out, right? So if he wants to protect himself, he's gonna curl up under that shell. And if you're just taking a nature walk, you might look down and think it's a rock, and you might not even know it's a turtle because it's gonna be all tucked up inside there protecting himself. Next up we have a monkey. The monkey's fur. Give me a thumbs up if it's used for protection. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's used for movement. The monkey's fur would be used for protection. If you think about it, a monkey needs his fur to what? Stay warm, cover his body, protect himself, right? He wouldn't want to just be bare. People, humans, we have what? We wear clothes, but the monkey has his fur. And the last one we have is a fish. And it says the fish's fins are used for protection or movement. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's protection. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's for movement. You should be giving me a thumbs up for movement. The fish's fin is what's going to help it swim, right? It's going to help it move. Now that we observe those and the coverings of the animals, we know that animals are going to be like people or humans. They're going to have legs for walking. They are going to have wings for flying. They might have claws to help them climb. Not all animal structures function the same way though, right? Eagles have good eyesight to hunt their prey. So eagles are always looking, trying to find their prey, what they can eat. But bats, their eyesight is not so good. So we can compare the parts of animals and how some of the parts are better for some animals and how they're not so great for other animals, right? Just like humans. Sometimes things happen and some people have body parts that are going to help them in one way a little bit better than a different person, right? We are all not made the same, just like animals are not made the same. Next we have this graphic organizer here, and we have some different animals if you notice. We have a turtle, an owl, an elephant, some fish, and the bottom one is a monkey. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to look at each animal and we're going to look at the body part that it wants us to think about. The turtle's legs, the owl's eyes, the elephant's ears, the fish's fins, and the monkey's tail. We are going to come up with some words about how each animal uses that body part, and then we're going to compare it to how a human would use that body part. Now you're probably already thinking, does a human have fins? Does a human have a tail? No, of course not. But sometimes do they pretend to have those things? Have you ever seen a human put fins on before? We'll get to that in just a few minutes. Have you ever seen a human put a tail on before? We'll also get to that in a few minutes. So let's look at the top one here, the turtle. And we are going to, I want you to come up right now with some ideas about how the turtle uses his legs to help him survive. So you're going to write turtle right there. And now I want you to tell me, you're going to raise your hand, and who can tell me how the turtle is going to use his legs to survive? What is he going to do? I'll give you just a minute to raise your hand and come up with some ideas. All right, you might have said that the turtle is going to crawl or swim, right? You can sound those words out, they don't have to be spelled perfect. So a turtle's going to use his legs when he's on the ground to crawl to get somewhere, and if he's in the water, he's going to swim, right? Use his legs to swim. Now we want to compare it to a human. Raise your hand and tell me, what does a human use their legs for? What are some ideas? All right, you may have said to walk or run. A human is going to use their legs to get from one place to another. Let's go down here. Let's do the owl next. So you're going to write owl right here. How is the owl going to use the body part of the eyes to survive? What is the owl going to do? Owls have really good eyesight. So who can raise their hand and tell me what they're going to use their eyes for? If you said to see and find food, you would be correct. They're going to use their eyes to see where they're going, and they're also going to use those eyes to scope out that food, right? We're going to write human down here. How does a human use their eyes to survive? Think about how you use your eyes inside the classroom, outside the classroom, at home, everywhere you are. What do kids and adults, what do they do? How do they use their eyes? Who can raise their hand and give me some ideas? All right, you might have said to see or observe things. If you just want to write the word see, that's fine. But you think about this, if you're outside and you're trying to decide what you're going to do outside and where you're going to go that's going to be safe or it's going to be something you want to do, you're observing what's going on around you. With your eyes as a human, you're also going to protect yourself from danger, right? So I'm going to write the word protect. Because if you are going to go across the street, you're going to look both ways, right? Before you cross the street, you're going to protect yourself by using your eyes to help you survive. And that next animal over there is a elephant. And we want to know how an elephant uses its ears to survive. Well, I learned something new when I was doing a little bit of research, and I'm wondering if you know this or not. So think about this for a minute. How does an elephant use his ears? Raise your hand when you know some answers. Okay, well, we all know that an elephant is going to use his ears to hear things, right? Hear things. Now, here's the new one I learned. Did you know that an elephant uses his ears to cool off when he gets too hot? That is very true. Did a little research and I learned that. So the ears are going to help him cool off. Next, we're going to compare to a human's ears. How do we use our ears to help us survive? Who can raise their hand and tell me that? Okay, to hear things, right? And also communicate. So to hear and communicate. Now, here's what I want you to think about. If all of the first grade teachers are in a meeting and we're talking one at a time about, I'm the science teacher, Mrs. Pruden teaches writing, Mrs. Met does all the phonics, Mrs. Hahn does the social studies and the reading, Mrs. Charbonneau does the math. We're all talking and listening and communicating to each other. If we didn't communicate, we wouldn't know what we were teaching each week and who was going to make what videos and how we were going to get all of our work done in first grade. So we're communicating. If you think about animals, when they use their ears to communicate, they're making noises. So animals don't talk and don't use words like us, but they make noises. So I'm pretty sure we talked a little bit about this before. The mom or dad or the adults, they might make noises to warn their baby offsprings that there might be danger near so that they know they're going to have to go hide, right, and protect themselves. So animals, that's another way that we're comparing people to animals. People talk to communicate, but animals are going to make noises, but they're still communicating. So they're similar because they're communicating, but they're different in the way that they do it. Our next animal that we have down here is going to be a fish, and I want you to raise your hand and tell me, what does a fish use their fins for to help them survive? You should have said swim. A fish is going to use their fins to swim. Now we're going to write human, and here's where I said we would get back to later. Thinking about a human, does a human have fins? No. When might a human put some pretend fins on? Who can raise their hand? Can you think of a time that a human might be wearing fins that aren't real, that are not made from their body, but they're pretend ones that they can put on? If you guessed they put fins on to snorkel or go swimming or go underwater, you are correct. So a human can put pretend fins on to swim, right? They can put pretend fins on to swim. I'm going to give you just a minute to finish that up, and then I'm going to move it up so you can see the animal at the bottom, which is the monkey. Now, if you don't quite have all of that done, you can always go back and add more later. So we're going to move it up. I'm going to come back over here and erase everything, and we're going to talk about the monkey. And with the monkey, we want to look at how he uses his tail to survive. So think about that for just a second, and you're going to write monkey right here. Who can raise their hand and tell me, how does a monkey use his tail to survive? If you said that a monkey uses his tail to hang, you are correct. Those monkeys go jumping everywhere, right? And they can use their tail when they have those little tiny ones. They can use their tail to hang. Now we're going to do a human. Does a human have a tail? No, of course not. When might a human, just like we talked about the fins with being pretend, when might a human put a tail on? Raise your hand. If you said to dress up, like especially at Halloween, you are correct. So we're just going to write dress up there, because humans don't really ever have a tail, right, or a need for a tail. They just use those sometimes. Okay, we are going to move on to reading a story next. So you can go ahead and put this paper to the side, and there's another worksheet that you're going to need, but not right this second. You're going to listen to the story called Little Red Riding Hood first. Raise your hand if you've ever listened to Little Red Riding Hood before. All right, here we go. Little Red Riding Hood lived in the woods with her mother. One day, Little Red Riding Hood put a nice cake in her basket and went to visit her granny. On her way, Little Red Riding Hood met a wolf. "Hello," said the wolf. "Where are you going?" "I'm going to see my grandmother. She lives in a house behind those trees." The wolf ran to Granny's house and locked Granny in the closet. He ran into Granny's bed. A little later, Little Red Riding Hood reached the house. She looked at the wolf, who was pretending to be Granny. "My, what a deep voice you have." "All the better to talk with you," said the wolf. "My, what big eyes you have." "All the better to see you," said the wolf. "My, what big ears you have." "All the better to hear with you," said the wolf. "My, what a big nose you have." "All the better to smell with you," said the wolf. "My, what strong legs you have." "All the better to play tag with you," said the wolf. "My, what big teeth you have." "All the better to eat you with," said the wolf. A woodcutter was in the woods. He heard a loud scream and ran to the house. The woodcutter hits the wolf. Then Grammy jumped out of the closet because she knew it was safe. the wolf ran away and never bothered Little Red Riding Hood, Granny, or the woodcutter again. Think about the body parts in that Little Red Riding Hood mentioned. How did these help the wolf? So, some of the body parts that were mentioned were the ears to hear better, the eyes to see better, and the nose to smell better. We're going to talk about the wolf, and then we're going to talk about one other animal, and we're going to talk about the body parts and what body parts help the wolf and the other animal that we're going to go over, how that helps them to survive, move, and eat. So you are going to need your second worksheet. It's going to look like this. And we're going to do the wolf part first. All right, they want us to draw the wolf. Well, I'm going to draw two. I'm going to draw the one that I saw in that story where the wolf was kind of standing up. So he had a head, he had some tall ears, eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the whiskers. And then he had arms, because I remember he had like overalls on. His feet, his toes there. Or if you were going to think of a pet wolf that would be out in the wild, you would draw a head, a body, some legs, tail, with his ears on him again, eyes, nose, mouth, his whiskers, right? Remember, I'm not the perfect artist. I just do the best I can, just like you should be doing. So we have the wolf, and they want to know what body parts help the wolf to survive. So think about this wolf. What body parts in your brain you're thinking first? What body parts are going to help the wolf survive? Then we're going to talk about moving and eating. Who can raise their hand and give me some ideas about the surviving part? I'm going to give you just a second to have a little class discussion. Alright, so if you're thinking about the wolf and how he's going to survive, he's probably going to use his eyes, right, so he can see. And he might use his nose to smell things. And the wolf might use his legs to get from one place to another. Oh, and then when he's going to go for food, he's going to use his mouth, right? What about moving? Who can raise their hand and tell me what body part is going to help the wolf move? If you said legs, you are correct. And the last part, what body part is going to help the wolf eat? Who can raise their hand and tell me that one? Yes, you should have said the mouth. Remember, just sound those words out. They don't need to be perfect. Now, we're going to pick an animal for the bottom, and I'm just going to pick one. And we're going to think about how many different animals there are. There's dogs, there's bald eagles, there's wolves, there's also horses. I have this book, and it's called Big Cats because cats are a category that have lots of different animals underneath them. Cats could be considered to be a pet cat that you would have, or they could be a cheetah or a leopard or a tiger, right? They don't just have to be a pet cat. And then remember, baby cats are called what? Called cubs. So cats is a category that has different animals underneath it. So I'm going to scroll up. And we're going to do a tiger down here, and we're going to come up with the body parts that are going to help the tiger. So you can go ahead and start drawing your tiger in this box right now. We're also going to need to write the word tiger right here. So go ahead and draw your tiger. a tiger has claws, so I put those down on his toes here. Some whiskers, eyes, nose, mouth. Just a quick little drawing there. Think about what body parts help a tiger to survive. Who can raise their hand and give me some answers for that one? Again, I would say the eyes, nose, mouth, legs, maybe even what else? Tiger likes to roar, right? Roar. I would say claws. I would add that there too. You could just put a couple of those or all of them if you want. I have eyes, nose, mouth, legs, and claws. Who can raise their hand and tell me what body parts helps the tiger to move? Yes, the legs help the tiger move. And what about what body part helps the animal to eat? Who can raise their hand and tell me that one? You should have said the mouth. So now, when we think about these body parts, and part of what we've talked a little bit about today was humans learning from animals also. We're comparing animals. We just compared a wolf and a tiger, and we came up with a lot of the same answers, didn't we? What about humans? Well, humans don't have claws, but we have fingers and we have toes, right? Those help us. Our fingers definitely help us survive. That's what helps us pick up our food and eat it. Our legs, they help us move. We have a mouth to help us eat. So there are lots of different ways to compare animals and humans, right? We are going to have some more on animals, but this is what all I have for you right now. In your class, you might also be doing some research with animals, or you might be starting some research with animals where you're going to be telling facts about the animals. Remember, facts are proven to be true. So, would a fact be my favorite animal is a tiger? No, that would be a fact. A fact would be a tiger is orange and black. Or a fact could be a tiger has whiskers, or a tiger has claws. So when you're talking about research in your classroom, you're going to be talking about the body parts of animals. And you're going to be talking about how they protect themselves, or how they protect their babies, what they eat. And then you might even come up with different ideas for them, like how much they weigh or how fast they can run. So that's all I have for you right now, and we will be back with more on animals.